Hi everyone, welcome to your week 4 Cuisines of the World live session. And before we even get started on anything of the week, I'd like to introduce you guys to Chef Gina Donovan. She couldn't be with us last week, but she's here now and she's going to answer everything about externship. So Chef Gina, please go ahead.
Hi everyone, thank you for having me. And yes, I'm here to answer any questions you have and kind of a little bit about externship. Your upcoming class, so you have 2 more terms until you get to externship, so now's a really good time for us to get to know each other and start that conversation, make sure that you're on track, you're working with career services. So I have a little mini presentation that I'll go through. It has my contact information and other details, and then maybe answer a couple questions, and then you can carry on with class. So I'll share my screen. And here we are. So it starts with my contact information. So there are 2 of us that will be guiding you through the 6-week externship course in just a few more terms. Myself and Chef Steve, both of us can help. Both of us will be guiding you through the 6 weeks. You can get both of our contact information now. And hit us up if you have any questions. So you can text or call. I'm at 805-364-2260, Chef Donovan at escoffier.edu, and Chef Brown is sbrown@staff.escoffier.edu, and you can call or text at 818-297-6507. And I'd like to share some key points. So we were talking earlier in the class, yes, externship is a scheduled course. Just like next term you'll be in farm to table, right after that you're scheduled for externship. So that term, that block is July 10th through August 20th. So you'll go on to farm to table, you'll have a 2-week summer break, and then right into externship July 10th. So hours for externship will start counting once you're scheduled for the class July 10th through August 20th. It's a required course, so you have to take all of your scheduled classes, pass them, get a 2.0 GPA, cumulative GPA, in order to enter externship and get scheduled into externship July 10th. So all those things need to happen. Once you're scheduled on to externship, then we can start counting your hours for externship. So some of you may already have a site, already have your site paperwork in, already working, and all of that is fabulous and great. But come July 10th, when you're scheduled for externship, that's when you take the class. It's 6 weeks, and you start logging the hours then. So some of the requirements, as I said, you need a 2.0 GPA to get into the class. Next term, when you're in farm to table, there will be a week 2 assignment where you can get the externship agreement and site agreement in. And I think there's a little check-in in this class as well, where you can get those documents. You can download them, print them, and have them ready. You can turn them in anytime between now and the start of externship, but they are required before the externship course starts, and next term week 2 for your farm to table class. And now is the time that you should be connecting with career services. They're a really great resource that can and will help you with this process. It can be a little worrisome, scary. It could be first time for some of you. How to make site visits, help you with your resume, give you leads in your area and surrounding areas to find a site, kind of where to start, and then what to do after. So once you've applied, they can help you with those next steps. Sometimes they can even connect you with the site. They can find out if a site is hiring or working with externs, find a time that works for both of you, and then you show up and you meet them. Sometimes they ask you to stage, where you're kind of doing a working interview. And so, we're all here to help you with that and with that process. And now is the time you really want to start that. And some additional details. So you need 150 hours to pass the class. Externship is a pass-fail class. So whatever GPA you have going into externship, you pass externship, that's the GPA you graduate with. You become an official graduate the last day of class. So that August 20th date, that's the day you complete the program completely. You pass externship, you become a graduate. So you need 150 hours. it's a 6-week course, so that's averages 25 hours per week, but I was talking earlier in this class, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can have more hours some weeks, less hours some weeks, as long as you're attending every week. And you attend by turning in weekly timesheets. So 5 hours, that's still attendance. We have digital timesheets, so you can download the app on your phone or a tablet or any other device, and you would track your hours at the end of every week. You hand over your phone or device to your chef signs it, you hit submit, and your weekly homework is done. You've submitted your hours, your attendance is in. So it's really easy. We try to make it easy for you and your supervisor. They sign electronically on your phone. And then we have 2 live sessions, one week 1, day 1. So same time as this class when you get into externship July 10th. We'll have one week 1, week 5. We have 2 discussions, week 2 and week 6, and then a final externship reflection essay on the last week as well. So it's going to be an easy class as far as what's required. It's really about you getting that externship site, getting everything in ahead of time, and being ready and prepared to start counting those hours come July 10th. You submit hours every week, you get to that 150-hour mark, and you pass the class. And here are some phone numbers for career services. So, you know, Jane Jepson is the Director of Career Services and can help you with any questions or needs you have. But then we have career services reps that you would be connected with, and you've probably heard from them. I heard somebody saying their career services rep is Natalie. If you're on the East Coast, you have Natalie Shibley. If you're on the West Coast, you have Deborah Mastick. In the Midwest, we have Eric Austin, and then they're adding career, you know, we're growing, so we're adding new career services rep. We have Sherry Howell, who's also there to help, and Annette Martinez-Smith. So, you know, really, if you just email this careerservices@escoffier.edu, if you don't know who your rep is, and you just say, I need help finding an externship site, I'm starting July 10th, can someone help me? Within 24 hours, someone will be assigned to you and reaching back and helping you with this process. Once again, my contact information, Chef Steve's contact information, I'll kind of leave it there for a quick second. I'll also post it in the chat so you can have it and maybe answer a couple questions, or even just ask you to email me and I can answer those questions from there. And I'll stop sharing now.
Well, we have a couple questions for you in the chat, Chef. One, how do they know what restaurants are eligible for externship?
So you don't know. I mean, you have to go in there, meet with them, and ask if they take extern. So you let them know what the program is all about, that at the end of the program, in order to graduate, that you need some hands-on experience in a commercial kitchen, working under a chef with experience. And really, those are the requirements. So you let them know you'll need 150 hours within the 6-week time frame, and they'll tell you, you know, if that's something that they're willing to do. Another thing is you can contact career services, and they can work with you, and they may have a list of places in your area that have already hosted externs. But really, it's about just getting out there, getting yourself out there, and finding out, letting them know that you want to start working and you want to start your career or continue your career, and you know what you have to offer. So it's just like kind of getting a job. They're either hiring or they're not. They're taking externs or they're not. And it you know, for a lot of you, it might be starting your career or continuing your career. So you might want to be hired on after or hired on before. And then you start counting your externship hours come July 10th.
Rebecca, you have another question?
I was just wondering, for extenuating circumstances, how does one get an extension?
For an extension. Okay, so the course is 6 weeks. If you don't think you're going to get the 150 hours, kind of just like in other, you know, classes, if you had extenuating circumstances you weren't able to complete, you can get a 2-week extension off the back end of the class. So you would have, I don't have a calendar in front of me. So if the class ends August 20th, you would have 2 more weeks to complete the 150 hours. And in order to do that, I mean, you have to be enrolled in the class first. We have to see how far you've come. So can you complete those 150 hours within the 2-week extension period? If you were just starting externship week 6, that might be kind of hard to do. So your approval would depend on that. But you would just request it with the registrar, and I would help you with that when you're midway through the class. So I'd reach out to everyone who seems low on hours, or you're in contact with me. We're in constant communication, and I would let you know now's a good time to email the registrar and ask for that incomplete, it's called, and then you get the 2-week extension.
What if I couldn't find a place because of my circumstances?
If you don't find a place to do your externship, and this is for anyone, if you don't do externship, you don't pass or graduate from the program. So it's just a matter of continuing to work with Career Services and hope that you do find something, or find even maybe a non-traditional type of site that can help you, or chef that can help you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Heather, you have a question?
So you're saying if I fail your class, your 6 weeks, all this year that I've committed, I will not graduate?
Well, you could retake it.
So you're saying that, like, if I have a 4.0 and I miss your class and I get a 2.0, that's still not able to graduate?
Heather, it is just in order to fail externship is if you don't complete the 150 hours.
Right, and I don't plan to.
You don't plan on completing externship?
No.
Then you don't get the, yeah, it's a class of the program.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Maybe you can ask.
As an accredited school, externship is a requirement for that accreditation, so it's something that everyone's required to do.
Maybe you can find a site that will work for you, Heather. Sometimes people just get stuck in, maybe it's just restaurants, but there's a lot of places in the industry where you could do your externship. It doesn't necessarily need to be a restaurant itself.
Group homes, retirement homes, hospitals. I heard someone speaking earlier about a hospital. We can try to even get creative if there's something specific that you've learned here in the program and that you want to work to do. If there's like food blogging, food photography, and there's someone you can work with who has a company, we can talk about trying to get that approved, things like that.
Yeah.
Quick serve restaurant is eligible, yes, as long as you're working in food production.
Sparkling chef.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was 5 minutes late for the class. Sorry about that. The forms I printed out, do I do that a week before I start my externship, or the same week I start my externship?
You can get that filled out and signed by your externship site supervisor at any time. It'll be due week 2 of next term. But you can get that filled out and done and sent to Career Services definitely before.
And Chef Sophia, you mentioned I can just take a photo, right? And I can just take a photo and send it to them of the forms. Okay. During the week I do externship, are we going to meet together as a class for live forums and discussion boards and stuff?
Twice. So week 1, we meet for our first live session on the first day of class, and I explain again how externship works, answer your questions, and we kind of go through all the details in detail, how to submit your weekly timesheets, how that works. Each of you will be getting assigned a new Escoffier email address. That becomes your login for your electronic timesheet for the class. And you get that like a day before the class starts, right when the class starts. And we'll go over all of that in the first week 1 live session. And then at the end, we have one just to kind of wrap everything up. But externship is very much an individual process. You're all in different places. You're all doing different things. So really we're connected. That's why there's both myself and Chef Steve, and whatever it is you need, we talk individually. We answer those questions because everyone's kind of in different boats and have different issues or things that they need or questions that they have or what ifs that come up, and we help you that way. And we can always meet live as well.
Okay, but could you do multi places, say like 4 hours here, 4 hours there, 2 hours there. So 3 different applications, like, or even like a private chef doing a catering come to your house and work with you. Say if you're disabled and you can't get out, you're disabled, you can't walk, but you need to do externship. Can the catering company come to you and work with you or something?
I haven't seen that yet, but yeah, that's something that would have to get approved. We would have to just look into the business and who the chef that you're working with is. And we can talk about that again individually. And that would just go through an approval process of, this is the business, this is what I'll be doing, and laying out everything, getting a resume of your supervising chef, and kind of what happens during those 6 weeks. How are you getting those hours? What will you be doing? And you would just fill out a form that goes to academics and Chef Chanel and gets approved before the externship. So that's the answer to one question. The other answer is, can you have multiple sites? And yes, you can. It just means you have multiple externship agreements. So you're working at 3 different sites. You have 3 sets of externship agreements. That's an agreement between you and your site that, yes, you're a student getting school credit. You need 150 hours. They're willing to host you. They know that this is like a training experience, and they're signing weekly timesheets. So you'd have 3 of those, and then you turn in 3 timesheets. So each week, 5 hours here, 10 hours here, and another 5 hours there. And those.
And each timesheet has the signature of the executive chef or whoever is the owner of the business, and we photo shoot it to the administration or to you.
So it's an electronic timesheet that immediately goes to us through a dashboard. So you have your class on your phone. You click the link to the timesheet's there. You put in your hours for site number 1. Whoever signed as your supervisor for site number 1, you hand over the phone. They sign it. You hit submit. I get those hours done. So you don't have to.
You can do it right there on the site then.
Yep.
Okay. It's all new. I mean, I don't know. I look forward to this class, the externship class.
It will be fun.
Yeah. Thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome. Arturo, did you?
Go for it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I'm already working in a retirement home, and I've been working, in the industry for almost 30 years now. Okay. So, and I work 8 hours. Do I need to work extra 5 hours to get my externship, or that 8 hours I can use some of those to do my externship? How does that work?
Yep. So if you're working and that's your site and that's what you have on your externship agreement, those hours will count toward externship. So awesome. It's win-win for you. You're all set.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
Any other question, guys?
I had a quick question. I don't know if I might have missed it or not. I had to go fix food. Are these paid or are these unpaid?
Either one will be accepted. So you can get a paid opportunity or an unpaid opportunity. I say go for paid, but sometimes it depends on, if there's a chef that you really want to work under or what your circumstances are. And this is just an opportunity for you to do your externship hours and do some learning. Certainly unpaid will work. Definitely.
Nadine, you have a question?
Hi, yes, I have a question. On the externship paperwork, I didn't just look it over right now. I know I've looked it over before, but it does seem a little confusing. Oh, I guess it says paid or unpaid, and you check that off on the paperwork. Okay, all right. I didn't want to think they were getting away with not paying me since I already worked there. All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you check the box for them ahead of time.
Okay, oh, good. That's a good thing.
Chef Gina, I was asked in the chat if you could put your number up again on the screen.
Yes, I am doing that just now. Thank you.
Sure.
And so please, anybody, if you have further questions, I can talk to you in depth. Chef Donovan at escoffier.edu. I'm leaving my phone number just now in the chat, and please feel free to reach out.
All right, guys. Well, as she said, thank you so much for coming, Chef Gina.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good night, everybody. See you soon.
We will.
Yes, guys. And when she means soon, I mean soon. this whole year has gone by so fast, and you guys are definitely just 7 weeks and a half from meeting with Chef Gina and being on your externship. So I would definitely say get in contact with the career services, get in contact with her. If you have any difficulty finding a job, they can also help you with interviewing. They can help you to make your resume look a little bit better and presentable, etc. So the career services can really help you with a lot of things. Or if you're out there and you don't find anything, they might have a list in your area of restaurants that have done externs before and things like that. So definitely get in contact with them as soon as possible. I'm pretty sure that your representative should have sent you an email already, just introducing themselves and getting the ball rolling on that, okay? A lot of people have left the externship and finding a site until they start externship, and that kind of puts you behind track on graduating, okay, guys? So definitely start working on that.
Jeff, there are some questions in the chat that I think you may want to address about graduating as a chef and what necessarily that means, if your certificate makes you a chef and not a cook, or what really those kind of parameters are.
I like graduating from anything else, guys. So when you graduate as an accountant, when you graduate as, you know, business, or what you graduating, it doesn't make you an expert, right? That comes with practice. That comes with being a chef. What this certificate gives you, and above all gives the people that are going to hire you, is this person knows the techniques. This person should know what they're doing in the kitchen. So you have a step above people that don't have the classic training. Okay? Does it make you a super chef? Or I would not recommend going out of this certificate and opening your own restaurant in the first go. Try, work with other restaurants, work with other chefs, learn from somebody else's money, and then invest in yours. It does give you knowledge that you didn't have, knowledge that other cooks might not have. It gives you a step above. But it doesn't mean that you're an expert on being a chef. I always compare being a chef kind of like being in the military. You have to earn your stripes, right? So that's what a chef does. When I started culinary school, I was like everybody, oh, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna open my restaurant, I'm gonna be successful. But then I started working with different chefs. I started working from prep cook, working all my way up to sous chef and executive chef, etc. So definitely learn as much as you can from other people, and then you can invest it in yourself. A lot of our students already have their own business, and they're here to learn those basic techniques and kind of polish their knowledge in the industry. Definitely they have the experience, and now they have the knowledge, right? So you have to have both, as with any career out there. You graduate with knowledge, now you have to accumulate the experience. When people say paid or unpaid, I was paid on my externship, but I was paid the bare minimum. Definitely fight for paid, because I don't believe anybody should work for free. But like Chef Gina said, maybe as an awesome chef that it would just open, you know, different options for you. I know I did the minimum pay because I was working for a chef that definitely opened a lot of doors for me. And I did this for a long time. I did this for like 2.5 years. I was being paid almost nothing, but I was working with James Beard Award winning chefs. So that experience put me above other line cooks and chefs that might be at the same level as me.
And just like anything else with cooking, guys, there are differing opinions, differing viewpoints, differing positions on this. To me, when I went through culinary school, what I was always taught is you're a chef when your coat says chef. So until I got to that position, I was a line cook, I was a saucier, I was a rôtissier. That was my title. Even still today, when people ask me what I do, I don't say chef. I don't cook in a kitchen any longer. I say I'm a chef instructor because that's what I do now. So to me, chef has always been a job title. But you have to remember that you could go through the ACF and be a certified chef, and you could be a chef that way. There are programs that you can go to get a title of a master chef, and those are things that would go onto your chef coat. So that's sort of how I've always viewed it. I don't necessarily think you graduate from a program as a chef. However, if you open your business as a personal chef, your business card and your coat better say personal chef on it. You know what I mean? So there's kind of this fluid definition of what chef means. It's really, to me, is determined by your job title and really your experience in the industry. Did you have something to add to that, Chef Green?
I do. I actually went through certification with ACF, but all of my mentors and even some of the chefs within my culinary school, the way you gain that title is either through certification or your peers. When your peers start saying, Chef so-and-so, da-da-da, it's because they've been watching your skills. And they are really just seeing all of everything that you've done. You brought it to the table. So it does come with experience. Certification is a different thing. You test out for it, but your game still has to be there. Those techniques and skills have to be on point because you're being judged by some serious experienced evaluators, right? That actually go around and test you. So, just the whole thing is, guys, just practice, practice, practice. You can never stop practicing. And those techniques, once you get them down pat, you can take them anywhere with you. All right?
Yeah. Even when I became, sous chef and executive chef, and people were calling me chef, it took a while to understand that I was chef. Because, being all my career, I was telling chef to somebody else. And then when I was that, I'm like, I'm in no way in the level of my mentors type of thing. But then I started mentoring other people. And that's, I think, is more of a personal feeling. You'll know when you have become a chef. Gertrude, do you have a question? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. I think Chef Jamie has answered it, but because where I was working, my chef used to tell me that even after I graduate, I will not be a chef. I'll always be a line cook. And I'm like, why? So, because he used to say, because you don't have experience. The experience is what counts, what makes you be a chef.
But I have to tell you guys, a lot of people are that old school, only the experience. And I agree, experience will get you to be a chef. A lot of people that didn't go to culinary school, for example, would say, the culinary school, nobody cares. They do. It does give you an advantage because you have the knowledge. That's why it's very important. And that's why in this program, we really go into your brain and saying, learn the technique. Separate yourself from recipes and learn the technique. The flavors, the palate, the consistency, all of that is going to change depending on the chefs that you work for because they have different palates. And the first thing one chef is going to tell you when you first start working with him is going to be, forget what the other chef told you. But the techniques are going to be the same no matter in what restaurant. So yeah, maybe he's not going to call you chef until the day that you have enough experience and you prove, I know what you mean. I know what you need. And honestly, it is really hard for somebody that you've been working under for them to call you chef because they are the chef. But like Chef Kareem said, let your work do the talking.
That's right.
Definitely. Sparkling chef, go for it.
Hey, you just called me chef.
There you go. I hope you learned it.
Yes. I have my Instagram. I have a few followings with showing showcase my food and also participating in contests and stuff. But I am a line cook at Roy's at my physical job. So I'm known as a line cook and then I was offered a pastry chef because our pastry chef is leaving. But regarding my alter ego kind of self-appointed chef, I like sparkles, so I named myself Sparkling Chef. But what I take of it, of being a chef, an executive chef, is really being a kitchen manager. And no, you can't just come in and say, I'm going to be the kitchen manager. You have to manage a team. That takes experience. And also applying for, even to work in a kitchen, a lot of the restaurants, in the high-end culinary restaurants in Hawaii, they'll ask for the certificate because they want you to have, they want you to have that knowledge of what's mise en place, sanitation bucket. So the school, I got the training now because I've been a cook for years, but I've never knew the verbiage and the techniques, which I learned from the school now. And what is interesting too is that the how you guys change it now for us, the present, what is that presentation? Not the narrative, but the production. Yeah, I'm thinking different now because it's like more salty mouthfeel. It's like training me not to worry about in recipes. It's more like feeling the flavor and feeling the. So now when I'm cooking, you guys are changing my way of cooking because now it's faster and simple. Instead of looking at a recipe like, oh, 5 cups this, 5, it's like, okay, this is this balance is this, and it's quicker. So I appreciate that part about learning, tweaking my brain, how to do my recipe in a production way instead of writing it down ingredients-wise. So that's a big help.
It's so funny that you say that, Shalette, because one of the things that I've noticed when I cook for people that are not my customers, that are like my friends and family, one of the things that I always hear is, how did you do that so fast? And it's because I'm production sheeting. I don't have my cookbook out with my measurements of recipes. Yeah. I'm not starting something that takes a short amount of time before the long thing. It's all about that efficiency that comes with learning how to do production sheets, which will eventually meld into mental production sheets. And then you're going to be production sheeting your whole life, I promise. You're going to be brushing your teeth at the same time as you're doing other things, and it's all because it's production sheeted in your head. But that's one of the things that happens is you get that.
Yeah, and I can see because you guys kind of inculcate that into us to repetition. It's like it tweaks my brain now when I cook, because it's like, okay, well, to get it all to one meal, everything has to be orchestrated, but has to be quick. But I think that presentation thing, production sheet is a pretty good aid for me. It helps mold me in my cooking.
It's funny that you say that, because nowadays, when I want to cook something special, or I want to get out of my flavors that I always cook with, I go into the internet and I try to look up recipes for, let's say, a different type of chili that I want to make. It is so boring that I just scroll through all the recipes. Like, just give me the ingredients. And I just look at the ingredients. I don't need to read any of the directions that the recipe says anymore, because, man, they can be that long. So that's where you guys are going to get. That's what I mean by losing the focus on recipes. You guys are going to, I'm not saying, oh, you're never going to use a recipe. You're going to look at the ingredients. Because I'm not saying you are going to be able to work with all flavors. Sometimes we need a little, boost on our creativity to come up with new flavors. Me, as a hobby, I make ice cream gelatos and sorbets and all that kind of thing. I love making it. It is peaceful to me. I don't know why, but it is. Pasta and gelatos are like my zen type of thing. But of course, it comes a time when I'm like, what other flavor of ice cream can I make? So I do use the internet for that. I do use, weird gelatos, and I see the recipes, but I definitely just scroll through all the information and I just see the ingredients. That's all I need, because I have the technique on how to make it. I have the technique on how to do a stew. I have a technique on how to do a braise, on how to do a saute, on how to do a bake, on how to do. I know the technique, and I know probably my steps are like this much shorter than everything that is written down. That's where you guys are going to get. Okay? Flavors depends on you, depends on the customers that you're going to sell to. Because if I do my flavors, where I live in the Gulf Coast of Mississippi, everybody's going to be, this is too hot for me because I eat spicy. So I mellow down my flavors. So for my customers, because we are all here to learn. Do you graduate being a chef? Probably not. Unless you already have a lot of experience and this knowledge.
Yep.
You were an executive chef already. Does it give you a boost? Hell yes, it does. Because you learn the techniques that other people take a long time to learn if you are not classically trained. That's what I think. And before I went to culinary school, I was in med school. So I did not know anything about kitchens. But I made damn sure that I knew every step of each technique, and I just memorized the hell out of it, of all of them. And stop focusing on recipes. If you are somebody that used to cook for fun and then decided to go to culinary school without any restaurant experience, that is going to be something very hard to do because all your life you've been looking at recipes. So it does take time. It does take a lot of training. This is a hands-on industry. You need experience. This is not an industry where you can go get a master's and it will put you, it is only by practice that you get better. You do not have a master's on knife skills. It's just practice and practice and practice, practice. And my peers sometimes make fun of me because I make my baby's food. I have 2 children, and I used to make their baby food, and I brunoise everything, even though I was going to puree into a puree for them. Practice makes perfect. So the more you practice, the more you work in restaurants, the more you work in the industry. My recommendation would be, what I did, I always thought I was going to end up in fine dining. So I worked with 90% of my career was in fine dining. I meddled a little in catering, but I wanted to have an all-around experience. So I also worked in a grocery store, kind of Whole Foods, that they have their own cafe. I worked there because I wanted to also learn how to do mass production. And then I was the catering chef for a hotel back home that did parties for like 750 people and so on. I wanted to know how to do mass production, how to do middle production, and then I wanted that intricacy of fine dining, of having a very small kitchen with the chef. You know, we would create menus together. So my experience was, my thought process was, if I have the most experience in everything, I'm a very well-rounded chef. It paid off for me because of the career path that I chose of, teaching. Now I can teach several classes because I have experience in the business side, I have experience in the catering, I have experience in the baking and pastry, and I have experience in the fine dining. But that was my career path. My husband was 100% fine dining. He was part of a James Beard Award kitchen. That was his niche. His creativity is amazing. Mine, I knew it wasn't. But my organizational skill, my production sheets, and my managing of people is way above his. So it depends on what you think you're good at, and it depends where you want to get.
Yeah.
Mom and pop's fine dining, unless you own your own restaurant, is really hard for them to pay you a lot. Small restaurants is probably, they don't have benefits. So it's, it's a balance of what you want and what you need. Us, when we started having a family, it was time for one of us to move into a company where will have benefits, right? Little things like that you put in the balance and say, what works for you?
Chef,
should open your door. Chef Corinne, go for it.
What I was going to say is, like when Chef Sophia spoke about where she wanted to go, most of the times you really don't know exactly where you wanted to go, but I grew up in New York, and I always loved high end. I was a fashion designer, so it was in front of me all the time. So the transition to food just was a compliment to it, right? So I'm very creative as an artist. And what I do is, Chef was talking earlier about not thinking about the recipe per se. In my head, in my mind, the same way I would design clothes, I had to do it in my head first. I do the same thing with the clothes, with the food. So if I know there's a particular dish that I want, you tap right back into those techniques. And then all you're really doing is manipulating every ingredient to take it to its highest level. And everybody's hand is going to be different, so you're going to bring something different to the table. Now, in regards to the title, as we say, go out there and experience whether it's high-end or people laugh at McDonald's, but McDonald's is known for their training. They are known for their training, seriously. I learned over on the fashion side, Nordstrom's was known for their training and customer service. So I went there too, I worked there too. So I was able to take everything and bring it together in one. Do we have retail in this industry? Absolutely. What are you doing? You're selling food and you're selling yourself, right? So there's a phrase that's, I know it's on social media a lot, where it talks about a chef has to be a scientist, a mathematician, a psychologist, because you have to deal with your staff and everything else. So I fit myself in there because in a way you have to be a crazy little scientist to do and want to keep doing it and be inspired with it. So it led me here to teaching. Ask me about 20 years ago if I wanted to be teaching. Teaching what? I would have laughed at you. But culinary arts and that training allowed me to look at things differently, gave me a different perspective, not just for food, but just life in general. So now I can look at a tomato or onion. I'm not an onion fan, but I know what to do with those layers because of the training that I went through. So guys, relax, take a woosah and just enjoy this journey. I promise you, it'll take you on a crazy ride in a good way.
We had a different topic of discussion all lined up for this class, but I wanted to mention something that was being talked about in the chat just briefly for everyone in the archive. I don't want this discussion to ever make you feel like you have to memorize things, like you should know off the top of your head how to make anything. Memorization is not what a chef makes or what a cook makes. I was telling Heather and Rebecca in the chat, if you ask me right now how much flour I need to make a biscuit, I don't know. I would have to go look it up. But what I could tell you is how to manipulate those ingredients to make a biscuit. I know how to cut the butter into the flour. I know how to add the liquid. I know how to minimally knead it to get to a biscuit. Even if I don't have it specifically memorized, how much flour and how much butter and how much buttermilk I'm going to need, I could tell you how to do it. And that's what we're talking about here, is understanding those techniques. Even if you don't have every single ingredient memorized for a bolognese, I know if you had them in front of you, you could do it without a recipe. So it's not about the memorization of every recipe. There are some recipes that I memorize, like my mom's recipes that I've seen for 30 years growing up. But that's not what a chef makes. A chef and a professional cook is someone who can identify ingredients and know how to use them for a recipe, not having a stockpile of recipes that you've memorized that you know how to do. I would actually equate that a little bit more to a home cook, as someone who has a set amount of memorized recipes that they use over and over again. A chef or a cook or someone who's a professional is someone who knows technique and knows how to manipulate any ingredient into any dish.
That's so funny you say so, because my mother always gets very angry at me. Because I'm cooking for her and it's like, how you did that? Because I'm like, I just did this, and that. How much? I don't know. Until it worked. Until it got thickened, Mom. So she's like, but I want to make it at home. It's like, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Because she wants me to tell her, do 1/4 tomato with a 1/2 teaspoon of lime juice. It doesn't work like that. Because as chefs, we know that all tomatoes are different. All limes are different. One are more juicy than the other ones, etc. So experience. Absorb as much experience as you can. That will get you far. All right, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I wanted to talk in this live session. There is these, because we were talking about authenticity and we were talking about traditional and fusion food and what's good, what's from here, what's not. There is a web page. It's called the UNESCO Culinary Heritage Sites. Back in the day, the UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage didn't used to accept food. This heritage register book, you can say, was invented to preserve culture, because they say that with globalization and with people moving all around the world, that there could be certain parts of culture that can be lost in years, like tango dancing, like there's a bunch of things here. They used to have tango, Albanian folk isopolyphony, cultural space of Gemma's Elfa Square, traditional design and practices building Chinese wooden arch bridges. So these little things that people are no longer making because industrialization or because machines or because whatever is happening in the modern world, there's a lot of culture that has been disappearing. Another part that was protected by this heritage was, for example, dialects and different types of language that people stopped using. There's certain indigenous dialects that are protected and they're written down in order to preserve them. There was a lot of years where they were trying to fight and say, hey, cooking should be protected too. Nowadays, it is. So if you read here, a lot of pasta making by hand is now in this book. There's actually one pasta, I need to research the name. One type of pasta making that there's only like 7 people left in Italy that know how to do it by hand. So we're losing a lot of information, right? Because we haven't been passing it through generations, or because it becomes not useless, but people don't need it anymore, or people, they have a machine that do it for you, or things like that. So please take a time on your day, read about this. Mexican cuisine is now part of this, part of French cuisine is part of this. You can go here and you can browse the list of intangible cultural heritage in the register, and they have a bunch of things. You can research by year or the country. For example, I researched tamales and I saw that in 2010, it was accepted by the traditional Mexican cuisine. And it's ordered to protect ancestral ongoing community culture and the Michoacan paradigm. I know mole is there, using the molcajete and things are there. This list is very important to preserve culture, to preserve the knowledge of how things used to be done by hand. And I think as chef, that is something truly important. We get used to machines. We get used to, rolling the pasta in the pasta roller instead of rolling it by hand. But there is some knowledge there that can be lost with industrialization and the modernization of things. And that's why these websites are very important. The UNESCO is part, the World Heritage is part of the United Nations. And that's what they do. They want to preserve culture in every sense of the world, from music to building things to dialects and languages to places to everything. There's a lot of forests, there's a lot of parts in the water, there's a lot of national parks that are part of protected UNESCO heritage. They say you can't hunt here, you can't build here because it is part of our culture. So definitely take a look at those. And definitely take a look at the food that is already culturally protected. It's very interesting to see. That's why when you choose a country, you have the option of UNESCO heritage. I know there's a Chinese, because we're moving to China, that Asia next part. Chinese calligraphy is part of it, and also some type of cooking. The dim sums. How to make dim sum by hand is now part of this heritage protection. And I also think how to make croissants is part of cultural protection. So definitely take a look at those lists. You definitely will not regret it. There's another article that I want to share with you guys that I saw that it was very interesting, and we have it in the Cook's Guide of World's Cuisine. And let me go back up. I read it all. So I went kind of like crazy on it. Let the internet work. All right, for now, I'm gonna show you what week 4 is looking like. Really simple, easy, another breather week for you guys. You get to do your conversion knowledge check, and you also get to do your dinner with appropriate size from the region that you did week 3. Okay? That's it. That's it for week 4. Ah, man, it's not loading up. So it is the best thing to eat in every country. And I was surprised by a lot of these options here that I didn't think it would be. I know, for example, for Mexico, it was mole. Do you guys know what the best thing to eat in the United States, according to this article, is?
A burger.
A
Tacos.
hamburger. Yes, Heather, very good. A hamburger in the United States. Yeah, there's so much else. But I mean, a good burger is a good burger. So they have a bunch of things, and I wanted to see it just to see how many I have eaten. And I'm surprised I've eaten a lot of them. So definitely take a look at the article. It's really interesting. In Italy, they say pizza, which I would say some pasta is better than the pizza in Italy. What do you think, Chef Jamie? You went there.
I mean, the pizza was, life-changing. But definitely pasta, I feel like I had more. I don't know what happened to my camera. It keeps going out. The pasta had more of an effect on my life than the pizza did. Although the pizza, in comparison to what we have in the United States, is so vastly different. When I eat pizza here, I'm always like, oh, I'm a monster. Why did I do that? When I was eating pizza there, I was like, I'm ready to run a mile. I feel great. These are the freshest ingredients. This is awesome. So there is definitely a difference there. But pasta, oh man, it changed my heart for sure.
I know we have a student here that actually, when I saw at Argentina, he cooked this for his meal, and it was asado for Argentina. So he kind of got it. The best thing to eat in Argentina, and he cooked it. Canada's poutine. China is chalobao, and it's really amazing. It's a type of dumpling too. So definitely take a look at that article. It's pretty cool. I don't know why my camera is kind of like messed up with my audio.
It's a universe thing. It's happening to all of us.
To all of us, I know. So the talk that we were going to talk about, and we maybe touched it on next live session a little bit, is we're talking about UNESCO and cultural, taking care of our culture and things like that, because we are going through a thing called globalization, right? We're moving everywhere. We keep immigrating into other places. And in Italy, going back to Italy, they want to pass a law in Rome, Milan, Florence, and Venice, which are, the most visited cities of Italy, where they don't want any more. Then they're not talking about shutting down the ones that they have, but they will not give new licenses to ethnic restaurants anymore. They say that people travel to Italy to eat Italian food, so they want to give licenses more to people that want to open Italian restaurants. It can be a modern Italian, it can be a traditional, it can be an osteria, but it has to be Italian. So we wanted to talk a little bit about what you guys thought about that law, and I wanted to talk about it and especially compare it to the United States. When people travel to the United States, yes, they eat a hamburger, like they said, it's the best thing to eat in the United States. But at the same time, I don't know what will be if I go to New York and I can't go to Chinatown, and I can't go to Little Italy in Chicago, or I can't go to the Greek neighborhood in Chicago, or I couldn't go to La Misión in San Francisco, right? If we weren't allowed to open ethnic restaurants. So definitely something for you guys to think about for next live session. We're also going to talk deeply about etiquette, table manners, and what do you do when you go to restaurants, because next week we're moving to Asia and the Pacific Rim, and I love to talk about that there, because in Asia is where they're definitely very different when it comes to etiquette. So definitely be prepared for that. Sparkling Chef, you have a question?
You were talking about, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You're talking about, is this going to be like a live discussion we're going to talk about? Italy, just saying no more ethnic group foods? Or you want to?
Yes. I want you to think about about it, and then we'll have a 10-minute discussion about it and see if you're pro or if you're con from that law, and then we're going to move on to eating etiquette. Does that sound good, guys?
Okay. Yes, because it sounds so foreign to me, because in Hawaii, we're like a melting pot, yeah?
Exactly, right? And that's why it's a very interesting thought, because in one way you could say, well, yeah, they're trying to preserve their culture. And another way is like, what would we be without fusion cuisine, right? So definitely think about that.
I wonder how that's going to go in New York. That's
right?
not.
That's like
oh man, and in San Francisco too.
Yeah, definitely a cool thing. Like, for example, in a city like New York, where you have everything, in Chicago and San Francisco, or a city like New Orleans. New Orleans, most of the restaurants are Cajun Creole soul, right? Nowadays, you have been seeing a bunch of them pop up that are ethnic. Shaya was Israeli. There's, I forgot her name, and I love her. She is a African-American chef that was on Top Chef, and she just opened a restaurant, Caribbean restaurant in New Orleans, and she was nominated for James Beard Award. Forgot her name.
Leah Chase is there for the longest.
Yeah.
She has a restaurant.
So she was just nominated like Best Chef South for James Beard, and her restaurant is booming. I forgot the name of the restaurant.
Like 90-something years old. If we're talking about Leah Chase.
No, she's a young chef.
You're talking about Nina Compton?
Yes, Nina Compton. There you go. Nina Compton. She opened a restaurant in New Orleans, and it's like the bomb right now. And it's Caribbean food in New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely something that we can talk about. Right now, we just don't have any time. But guys, remember, try to do your conversion knowledge check before Saturday. That way you have your dinner to do. With your dinner with appropriate sides, you need to submit the narrative, which is the bottom questions, guys. The bottom question. Don't erase the questions from the answers from the top side and then write the answers. The bottom questions, okay? Your narrative, production sheet drawing, and your dinner with appropriate sides from the region that you choose in week 3. If you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to Chef Jamie, Chef Karine, or myself. We're here to help out. And chefs, please take it away.
I'm really looking forward to seeing your guys' dinner. We didn't get the chance to talk about week 3 in this class because it was jam-packed with information. But so far from what I've been seeing in week 3 is a lot of comfort in the kitchen. You guys are feeling way more comfortable with the flavor passports and way more comfortable cooking from other cultures. So I'm super excited to see what your dinners have to hold. Chef Karine?
Same here. I think you guys are literally taking journeys somewhere else, and it shows up in your passports and definitely in your food. I do see the comfort level has relaxed and you're enjoying it. So that's good. Keep it up. Looking forward to next week. Keep making me hungry.
I know. All right, guys. Thank you for coming, and I hope we answer all your questions about externship. Have a good night.
Aloha. Bye, everybody. Bye, Nadine. Bye,
Aloha.
Bill.
Have a good week.
Aloha.